Captain Jake Morrison floated in the observation deck of the research ship Horizon's Edge, watching the stars through the thick glass. The ship was small, only 12 people aboard, and it felt quiet after 3 months in deep space. They were far from Earth, farther than most humans had ever been, looking for rare metals in the asteroid fields. Jake was a good captain, but he was not a soldier. None of them were. But the Horizon's Edge carried mining tools and scientific equipment, not weapons. Earth had sent them out here to find resources, not to fight wars. It was fine with Jake. He liked the peaceful work. Captain, called Tim Brooks from the communication station. I'm getting something strange. Jake pushed himself away from the window and floated over to Tim's workstation. The young man was frowning at his screens, adjusting dials and pressing buttons. What kind of strange? Jake asked. It's a signal, very weak. But it's not coming from any human ship. Tim's voice was worried. And Captain, it sounds like someone is in trouble. Jake felt his stomach tighten, put it on speaker. The bridge filled with static and broken sounds. Through the noise, they could hear a voice speaking in a language none of them knew. But there was something else mixed in with the voice, something that made Jake's blood run cold. Weapon fire. Explosions. Screaming. Tim, run it through the universal translator, Jake ordered. Dr. Lisa Wong. Their chief scientist floated over to listen. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but right now she looked frightened. The whole crew was gathering around the communication station. The translator worked slowly, picking out words from the alien's speech. The voice that came through was desperate and afraid. This is a transport ship, Kethmoran. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack. Our shields are failing. We have civilians aboard. Children, please. Anyone who can hear this, we need help. The message repeated, getting weaker each time. Jake stared at the speaker, his mind racing. They were the only human ship in this area. If anyone was going to help, it had to be them. Where is the signal coming from? He asked. Tim worked at his controls. About 2 hours away at full speed. But Captain, we don't have any weapons. Someone is attacking them, ... I know, Jake said quietly. He looked around at his crew. They were all good people, but they were scientists and engineers, not fighters. Lisa, what do you think? The doctor was quiet for a moment. Captain, if there are children involved, we have to try something. We can't just leave them. Jake nodded. He had already made his decision, but he wanted to hear what his crew thought. What about the rest of you? One by one, they all agreed. They could not ignore a call for help, especially when children were in danger. All right, Jake said. Tim set course for the signal. Best speed we can manage. Yes, sir. The Horizon's Edge turned toward the source of the distress call. Jake went back to his captain's chair and strapped himself in as the ship began to accelerate. 2 hours felt like forever when people were dying. Captain, Lisa said, floating over to him. What's our plan when we get there? We can't fight anyone. Jake had been thinking about that. We'll have to see what the situation is first. Maybe we can create a distraction. Our mining equipment might be useful somehow. Or maybe whoever is attacking them will see us and leave. Tim added hopefully. Jake did not think it would be that easy, but he did not say so. The 2 hours passed slowly. The crew worked to prepare the ship for whatever they might find. They moved the mining equipment to be ready for use. They prepared the medical bay in case they were wounded. They checked and rechecked their communication systems as they got closer to the signal. They began to pick up more radio traffic. Most of it was in languages they did not know, but the translator was working hard. Multiple ships, Tim reported. The transport is still broadcasting, but it's very weak now. And there are at least 3 other ships. They're not trying to help. Jake felt sick. They were flying toward a battle in a ship that was not built for fighting. But people needed help, and they were the only ones who could give it. Bring us in slowly, he ordered. Keep us hidden behind the asteroids as much as possible. When they finally saw the battle, Jake's heart sank. The alien transport ship was huge, easily 10 times the size of the Horizon's Edge. It was clearly built to carry many people, with living areas and cargo holds, but now it was broken and burning. 3 smaller ships circled around it like wolves around a wounded deer. They were sleek and dark, built for speed and fighting. They fired weapons at the transport ship, and each hit made the big ship shake and spark. "Those are Vex raiders," Lisa said, her voice quiet with fear. Everyone in human space had heard of the Vex. They were pirates who attacked merchant ships and took slaves. They were cruel and dangerous. Jake watched the battle and felt helpless. The transport ship was trying to fight back, but its weapons were weak and its shields were almost gone. Soon it would be destroyed, and everyone aboard would be dead or captured, Captain, Tim said urgently. "I have an idea. What if we boost our communication array? We could send a message back to Earth, let them know what's happening." "That would take weeks to reach Earth," Jake replied. "But it might be the only chance those people have." Jake thought about it. Earth was far away, and by the time any help arrived, it would be too late for the people on the transport ship. But maybe, just maybe, it could prevent this from happening to others. "Do it," he said. "Send the message. Tell Earth what we found here." As Tim worked on the communication array, Jake made another decision. They could not save the transport ship, but maybe they could save some of the people aboard. It was dangerous, but it was the right thing to do. "Prepare the rescue pods," he ordered. "We're going to try to get some survivors." The crew stared at him. "Captain, if the Vex see us, ... Then we'll deal with that when it happens," Jake said firmly. "But we're not leaving without trying to help." The horizon's edge moved closer to the battle, hidden among the asteroids, preparing to risk everything for strangers they had never met. Jake did not know it yet, but his decision to send that message to Earth would change everything. The galaxy was about to learn what humans would do when innocent people were in danger. The message from the horizon's edge traveled through space for 3 weeks before it reached Earth. When it finally arrived at the Terran Defense Command headquarters in Colorado Springs, a young officer named Danny Scott was working the night shift at the communications desk. Danny was drinking coffee and reading reports when the priority alarm went off. He sat up straight and checked his screens. Emergency signals from deep space were rare, and this one was marked as urgent. "Admiral Sullivan," he called to his supervisor. "You need to see this?" Admiral Kate Sullivan was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had been running Earth space operations for 10 years, and everyone respected her. What most people did not know was that Kate had been keeping Earth's biggest secret all this time. She walked over to Danny's station and listened to the message. Her face grew serious as she heard about the attack on the alien transport ship and the brave crew of the Horizon's Edge trying to help. "How old is this message?" she asked. 3 weeks, ma'am. Whatever happened out there, it's already over." Kate nodded slowly. She knew that Jake Morrison and his crew were probably dead by now, but their sacrifice would not be wasted. This was exactly what Earth had been preparing for. "Danny, I need you to activate Protocol 7. The young officer looked confused. "Ma'am, I don't know what that is." "Go to the secure terminal and enter the code I'm about to give you. Tell no one else about this." Kate gave him a long series of numbers and letters. "When the system asks for confirmation, use my authorization code." Danny did as he was told, though his hands were shaking slightly. When he entered the codes, his screen changed completely. New displays appeared, showing military units and ship locations he had never seen before. "Ma'am, what is all this?" Kate smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Danny, you're about to learn what Earth has really been doing for the past 30 years. Within minutes, alert signals were going out to secret bases around the solar system and beyond. On the dark side of the moon, massive doors began to open in what looked like empty craters. Inside, ship hangars the size of cities came to life. With activity, Admiral Kate called her top commanders for an emergency meeting. In a secure room deep underground, she faced 5 men and women who looked nothing like peaceful explorers. These were soldiers, warriors, who had been training in secret for decades. "The time has come," Kate told them. "We have a rescue mission, and the galaxy is about to see what humans are really capable of." Commander Alex Carter was the first to speak. He was a big man with steady hands and calm eyes, the kind of person you wanted in charge during a crisis. "What's the situation, Admiral?" Kate played the message from Jake Morrison. When it finished, the room was silent for a moment. "Vex Raiders," said Lieutenant Amy Foster, the tactical officer. She was young, but brilliant, and she had studied every alien military force in the galaxy. "They've been getting bolder lately. The major powers ignore them because they only attack small ships and weak colonies." "Not anymore," Kate said firmly. "Alex, I want you to take the 1st Defense Fleet. Show them what happens when they attack innocents." Commander Carter nodded. "What ships do we have available?" "It's the Iron Will, Lightning Strike, Stormfront, and the Freedom's Hammer." "Full crews, full weapons load." The officers exchanged glances. These were the most powerful warships humanity had ever built, hidden away and waiting for this moment. The galaxy knew about Earth's small exploration ships and trade vessels, but they had never seen humanity's true military strength. "How long to reach the target area?" Alex asked. Chief Engineer Ben Martinez checked his calculations. "With the new jump drives, for days, the raiders will probably still be in the area, looking for more victims." "Good," Kate said. "I want them to see what they've brought down on themselves." Lieutenant Commander Rick Taylor, the weapons specialist, raised his hand. "Admiral, what are our rules of engagement? The galaxy thinks we're peaceful traders." Kate's expression was cold. "Rick, after 30 years of watching pirates and slavers hurt innocent people while everyone else looks the other way, I think it's time we showed our true colors. Anyone who attacks civilians in our presence will face the full might of the human military." The meeting broke up quickly after that. The commanders had work to do and not much time to do it. As they left the room, Kate called Alex back. "Commander, I want you to understand something. This mission will change everything. Once the galaxy sees what our ships can do, there's no going back to pretending we're weak." Alex nodded. "I understand, Admiral, but if we don't act now, more innocent people will die. That's not acceptable." "I agree. That's why I'm sending you out there. Show them what humanity stands for." 4 hours later, the 1st Defense Fleet launched from their hidden base on the moon's far side. The 4 ships were beautiful and terrible to see. They were larger than anything Earth had shown the galaxy before, and they moved with perfect coordination. The Iron Will was a battlecruiser, fast and heavily armed. The Lightning Strike and Stormfront were destroyers, built for speed and precision. Attacks, but it was the Freedom's Hammer that truly showed Earth's power. The massive dreadnought was twice the size of any other human ship the galaxy had seen. Its weapons could destroy entire fleets, as the ships prepared to jump to hyperspace. Commander Carter stood on the bridge of the Freedom's Hammer and looked at his crew. They were all volunteers who had trained for this day, knowing it might never come. Now it was time to prove that Earth's patience had limits. "All ships, this is Carter. We're going to rescue Jake Morrison and his crew if they're still alive. And we're going to show the Vex what happens when they attack innocents. But remember, we're not just representing Earth today. We're representing the idea that good people should protect those who can't protect themselves." Lieutenant Amy Foster checked her tactical displays. "All ships report ready, Commander." "Then let's go remind the galaxy why you should never threaten children in front of humans." The 4 ships disappeared into hyperspace, carrying Earth's hidden strength toward a confrontation that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. Behind them, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the empty space, where they had been, and whispered a prayer for Jake Morrison and his brave crew. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's greatest deception had not been hiding their weakness, but hiding their strength. 3 weeks had passed since the battle began, and Captain Jake Morrison was tired. The horizon's edge was still alive, but barely. They had been playing a deadly game of hide-and-seek with the Vex Raiders among the asteroids, and Jake knew they could not keep it up much longer. The transport ship Keth Morin was gone, destroyed in the first day of fighting. But Jake and his crew had managed to save some of the people aboard before it exploded. Now they had 23 alien survivors crammed into their small research ship, including 8 children. Captain whispered Tim Brooks from the pilot's seat. "The raiders are getting closer. They're checking every asteroid now." Jake looked at the display showing the 3 Vex ships moving through the asteroid field. The pirates were angry that their prey had escaped, and they were being very Careful now. Soon they would find the horizon's edge, and then it would all be over. Dr. Lisa Wong floated over to Jake's chair. She looked exhausted. Taking care of the wounded aliens had been hard work, especially with limited medical supplies. "How are our guests doing?" Jake asked quietly. "Better than expected?" "The captain of the Kethmoran is a tough one. His name is Sektar, and he wants to thank you personally." Jake nodded. He had been avoiding the alien captain because he felt guilty. It saved less than 30 people from a ship that carried over 2,000. It did not feel like enough. Sektar was a tall reptilian being with green scales and large golden eyes. When he spoke, his voice was deep and calm, even though Jake knew he had lost his ship and most of his people. "Captain Morrison," Sektar said, floating over to them, "I must speak with you. I'm sorry we couldn't save more of your people," Jake said, not looking at the alien. Sektar placed a clawed hand on Jake's shoulder. "You risked everything to save strangers. In my culture, this makes you a warrior of the highest honor. Most species would have kept flying and pretended they heard nothing. We couldn't just leave you, I know. That is what makes your kind special." Sektar's golden eyes were sad but proud. The Vex had been growing bolder for years. They attack civilian ships like mine all across this sector. The major powers say it is not their problem. Only humans have tried to help. Jake felt a little better, but not much. "We're still trapped here. I don't see how we can get you home. Perhaps we will not need to," Sektar said mysteriously. "I have been listening to your communications. The message you sent to Earth, it was not just a distress call, was it?" Jake looked confused. "I don't understand. Your people have been very quiet about their true capabilities. But the way you spoke in that message, the confidence in your voice when you said help was coming, I think Earth is more than it appears to be." Before Jake could answer, alarms started going off all over the ship. Tim was staring at his instruments with wide eyes. "Captain, something big just dropped out of hyperspace. For ships, and they're huge." Jake pushed over to the sensor display. What he saw made his heart skip. For human ships had appeared at the edge of the asteroid field, but they were unlike any human ships he had ever seen. They were large, sleek, and looked very dangerous. "Are those really human ships?" Lisa asked in amazement. "The computer says they are," Tim replied. "But I've never seen designs like these before." The lead ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of the biggest human vessel Jake had ever heard of. The other 3 were smaller, but still impressive. They moved in perfect formation, like they had been built to fight together. "This is Commander Alex Carter of the Terran Defense Fleet," came a voice over the radio. The signal was strong and clear with no static. "Horizon's Edge, please respond." Jake grabbed the microphone with shaking hands. "This is Captain Morrison of the Horizon's Edge. Commander, we have survivors from an alien transport ship. Vex Raiders are still in the area. We see them, Captain. Please maintain your position. We'll have this situation resolved shortly." Jake looked at his crew, who were all staring at the communication system. "Terran Defense Fleet," Lisa whispered. "Since when do we have a defense fleet?" "Since now, apparently," Jake replied. On the other side of the asteroid field, the Vex Raiders had also noticed the new arrivals. The lead raider ship, commanded by a vicious pirate named Krell, opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "Unknown ships, you are interfering with Vex business. Leave now, or face the consequences." The response came immediately, and it was not what Krell expected. Commander Carter spoke in perfect Vex language, something that should have been impossible. For a human, it's Commander Carter of the Human Defense Fleet. "You have attacked civilian vessels and threatened innocent lives. You have 30 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender, or we will consider you hostile." Krell laughed, a harsh sound that came through the radio. "Humans, you are weak traders and soft explorers. We have been raiding in this sector for years, and no one can stop us. Certainly not you." 20 seconds, Carter replied calmly. "You think we fear you? We are Vex warriors. We have conquered dozens of worlds and enslaved millions. Your little ships are no match for our battle-tested vessels." 10 seconds. Krell was getting angry now. "You dare threaten us? We will take your ships and sell your crews as slaves. Attack formation now." The three Vex ships moved toward the human fleet, their weapons charging up. Jake watched from his hiding place among the asteroids, feeling sick. The human ships were larger, but the Vex had been fighting for years. They knew how to use their weapons. "Time's up, Commander Carter," said quietly. What happened next changed everything Jake thought he knew about his own species. The human ships did not just fight back. They moved like nothing Jake had ever seen, fast and precise, cuting together like parts of a single machine. The battlecruiser Iron Will fired first. Its energy beam cut through the lead Vex ships, shields like they were made of paper. The destroyer's lightning strike and Stormfront spread out, surrounding the raiders and hitting them from multiple directions, but it was the massive Dreadnought Freedom's hammer that truly shocked everyone watching. Its main weapon charged up with a sound like thunder, and when it fired, the energy beam was so bright it lit up the entire asteroid field. The lead Vex ship simply vanished, destroyed completely in a single shot. Jake stared at the display, unable to believe what he was seeing. The remaining two Vex ships tried to flee, but the human ships were faster. Within minutes, one more raider was destroyed, and the third was caught in some kind of energy field, unable to move. Horizon's Edge, this is Commander Carter. The threat has been neutralized. Prepare to receive assistance. Jake could barely find his voice. Commander, how did you get here so fast? What are those ships? We'll explain everything when we get you home, Captain. For now, let's focus on getting those survivors proper medical care. As rescue ships launched from the human fleet, floated over to Jake again. The alien captain's golden eyes were wide with amazement. Captain Morrison, I think I understand now why you were so confident that help would come. Your people have been hiding their true strength all along. Jake nodded slowly, still trying to process what he had witnessed. I think we all just learned something new about Earth today. The galaxy was about to learn it too. The battle was over in 10 minutes, but the shock would last forever. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Freedom's hammer, still trying to believe what he had seen. The massive human warship was unlike anything he had imagined possible. Commander Alex Carter was a big man with kind eyes, but Jake could see the steel underneath. This was someone who had been preparing for war while the rest of humanity thought they were at peace. Captain Morrison, you and your crew did good work out there, Carter said, shaking Jake's hand. Staying alive for 3 weeks against Vex raiders with no weapons, that takes real skill. We just hid and ran, Jake replied. You're the ones who saved everyone. You saved them first. We just finished the job. Jake looked around the bridge of the Freedom's hammer. The crew worked with quiet efficiency, and their equipment was far more advanced than anything on civilian ships. Commander, I have to ask, how long has Earth had ships like this? Carter smiled. About 20 years for the first generation. These ships are the newest models. We've been building them in secret, hoping we'd never need to use them. Why the secrecy? Because the galaxy needed to see us as peaceful traders, not as a threat. We learned everything we could about alien technology and politics while staying in the background. When the time came to act, we wanted to be ready. Dr. Lisa Wong floated over to them. She had been working with the human medical team to treat the alien survivors. Commander, your medical equipment is incredible. We've saved people who should have died days ago. We designed our ships to handle rescue operations as well as combat, Carter replied. Saving lives is just as important as taking them. Lieutenant? Amy Foster called out from the tactical station. Commander, we're getting messages from all over the galaxy. Word about the battle is spreading fast? Carter nodded. I expected that. What are they saying? Mixed reactions, sir? Some species are scared. Others are asking if we're available for hire. The Galactic Council wants to meet with Earth's representatives immediately. Jake listened to this with growing amazement. Galactic Council was the loose government that ruled most of known space. If they wanted to meet with Earth, it meant humanity had just become a major player in galactic politics. What happens now? Jake asked. Now we show the galaxy who we really are, Carter replied. For 30 years, we've watched pirates and slavers hurt innocent people, while the major powers did nothing. That ends today. The Freedom's hammer and its escort ships began the journey back to human space, carrying the survivors of the Kethmoran. But their mission was far from over. As they traveled, more distress calls came in from across the galaxy. Ships under attack, colonies being raided, civilians crying for help. Each time, Commander Carter gave the same response. "We're on our way." The Iron Will broke off to help a mining colony under attack by slave traders. The lightning strike and Stormfront responded to a pirate raid on a medical convoy. Each time, the results were the same. The human ships arrived, gave the attackers one chance to surrender, and then destroyed them when they refused. Within a week, the galaxy was buzzing with stories of the mysterious human fleet. Some called them saviors, others called them dangerous vigilantes. But everyone agreed on one thing: Earth was no longer the weak, peaceful planet they had thought it was, back on the Freedom's hammer. Jake spent time talking with the alien survivors. Captain Sektar had become a friend, and he was full of questions about humanity. "Your people are very strange," Sektar said as they watched the stars from the observation deck. "Most species either show their strength to frighten others, or they hide their weakness to avoid conflict. You hid your strength to avoid frightening others. We didn't want to be seen as conquerors," Jake replied. "We wanted to be trusted. And now?" Jake thought about that. "Now, I think we're showing the galaxy what we really believe in. We believe strong people should protect weak people, no matter what species they are." Sektar nodded slowly. "This is why the Vex commander was so surprised. Expected you to act like other powerful species. Take what you want, ignore what doesn't benefit you. Instead, you risked everything to save strangers. That's what humans do. Not all humans, surely." Jake smiled. "No, not all, but enough. The ones who matter." On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Rick Taylor was monitoring communications from across the galaxy. His job was weapon systems, but he was also an expert in alien languages and cultures. "Commander," he called out, "you need to hear this. It's from the Al-3 Empire." The Althari were one of the most powerful species in the galaxy, with a huge military and control over dozens of star systems. They had always looked down on humanity as primitive newcomers. The message was from Emperor Vashtai himself. "2. The human fleet that destroyed the Vex Raiders, the Al-3 Empire, wishes to know your intentions. We demand immediate negotiations to discuss the balance of power in this sector." Carter laughed. "Demand. That's interesting." Amy sent a reply. "Tell the Emperor we're happy to talk, but we don't respond well to demands. We're in the business of protecting innocents, not playing power games." Chief Engineer Ben Martinez looked up from his station. "Commander, we're getting reports from our other ships. The pirates are starting to run scared. Some of them are leaving human space entirely." "Good. That's the idea." "But sir, some of the major powers are starting to build up their own fleets. They're worried about us." Carter's expression grew serious. "I expected that too. The galaxy is about to change in a big way. The question is whether we can keep our principles while dealing with all the politics that's coming." Jake had been listening to this conversation, and he had a question. "Commander, what if other species decide we're too dangerous? What if they all unite against us? Then we'll deal with that when it happens," Carter replied. "But I don't think it will come to that. Most species just want to live in peace and raise their families. It's only the governments and the criminals who benefit from the way things are now." Lieutenant Amy Foster called out again. "Commander, we're getting a priority message from Admiral Sullivan." Carter moved to the communication station. Admiral Kate Sullivan's face appeared on the screen, and she looked tired but satisfied. "Alex, good work out there. The President wants to address the galaxy tomorrow. We're making it official." "Making what official, ma'am?" "The Terran Protection Doctrine. Any species that attacks civilians in our presence will face the full might of the human military. We're not hiding anymore." Carter nodded. "What about the Galactic Council? They can accept it or not. We're done asking permission to do the right thing." As the call ended, Jake realized that he had witnessed the beginning of something huge. Humanity was stepping onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or traitors, but as protectors. "The galaxy would never be the same, Commander," he said quietly. "I think you just started a revolution." Carter looked out at the stars ahead of them. "Maybe, But if it means children can travel through space without fear of pirates, then it's a revolution worth having. The Freedom's hammer continued its journey home, carrying the survivors of one battle toward a future that would see many more. But for the first time in galactic history, the innocent would not face their enemies alone. 6 months after the battle with the Vex Raiders, the galaxy was a very different place. News of humanity's hidden fleet had spread to every corner of known space, and everyone had an opinion about what it meant. The Galactic Council had called an emergency meeting on the neutral world of Nexus Prime. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Great Assembly Hall, all wanting to understand what Earth truly wanted. Ambassador Helen Park stood at the podium in the center of the hall, facing thousands of alien delegates. She was a small woman with gray hair, but her voice was strong and clear. Behind her sat Admiral Kate Sullivan and other high-ranking humans, including Captain Jake Morrison, who had been promoted to Admiral after his brave actions. The hall was not friendly. Many species were angry about being deceived for so long. Others were frightened of humanity's military power. A few were grateful for Earth's protection, but they were outnumbered. The human delegation will now explain their actions, announced the council speaker, a tall, blue-skinned being named Turvash. The galaxy demands answers. Helen stepped forward. She had been preparing for this moment for months, knowing that her words could determine whether humanity became a trusted ally or a feared enemy. Honored delegates, she began 30 years ago, humanity joined this galactic community as students. We were young, weak, and eager to learn. You taught us about technology, about trade, about the complex politics that govern the stars. Murmurs filled the hall. Some delegates nodded, remembering those early days when humans seemed harmless. But we also learned darker lessons. We saw the Vex Raiders attack civilian ships while the council debated jurisdiction. We watched the Carth enslavers steal children while governments argued about sovereignty. We witnessed injustice after injustice. And we asked ourselves a simple question. What is the point of having power if you don't use it to protect the innocent? Emperor Vashtai of the Althari Empire stood up. He was a proud being who ruled one of the largest military forces in the galaxy. You speak of protection, but you acted without permission. You destroyed ships without trial. You have upset the balance of power that has kept peace for centuries. Helen looked directly at him. Your Majesty, how many innocent people died while we maintained that balance? How many children were sold into slavery while we followed proper procedures? We decided that some things are more important than politics. You decided? Shouted another delegate. Who gave humans the right to decide for the galaxy?
The same.
Right that allows you to ignore suffering when it's convenient, Helen replied calmly. The difference is, we chose to use that right to help, rather than to look away. Admiral Jake Morrison watched from his seat as the debate grew louder. 6 months ago, he had been a simple research captain. Now he commanded the Terran Protection Fleet, a growing force of human ships that patrolled the outer systems. The work was dangerous but rewarding. Just last week, his ships had stopped a slave raid on a peaceful farming world. The week before, they had rescued a disabled transport from pirates. Each success brought more requests for help and more criticism. From the Major Powers Council speaker, Turvash called for order. The council recognizes the delegate from the Zentari Federation. An insect-like being with multiple arms stood up. The Federation is concerned about humanity's rapid military expansion. Intelligence reports suggest you have hundreds of warships hidden throughout the galaxy. What are your true intentions? Helen had expected this question. Our intention is simple, to make sure that no one else has to send a desperate distress call into empty space, hoping someone will care enough to help. We will build as many ships as necessary to protect innocent life. And who decides what counts as innocent? Demanded the Althari Emperor. You? Your military commanders? This is the logic of tyrants throughout history. No, Your Majesty, Helen said quietly. This is the logic of people who remember what it's like to be weak and afraid. We haven't forgotten where we came from. Captain Sektar, who had been invited to speak as a survivor of the Keth Morin, stood up in the visitors section. May I address the council? Turvash nodded. The council recognizes Captain Sektar of the Merchant Guild. The reptilian captain walked to the speaker's platform. His golden eyes swept across the assembled delegates. 6 months ago, my ship was attacked by Vex raiders. Over 2,000 innocent people died while this council debated what to do. The only ones who came to help were humans in a small research ship with no weapons. The hall grew quiet. Everyone knew the story, but hearing it from a survivor was different. When the human fleet arrived, they could have demanded payment for their help, could have claimed our cargo as salvage. They could have used their power to gain advantage in trade negotiations. Instead, they asked for nothing, except the chance to take us home safely. Sektar paused, looking around the hall. I have traveled the galaxy for 40 years. I have seen every major species at their best and worst. Never have I met a people who risk so much for strangers and ask for so little in return. Emperor Vashtai was not convinced. Pretty words but actions speak louder. Humans have disrupted trade routes, interfered with legitimate military operations, and ignored the authority of this council. We have stopped pirates, freed slaves, and saved lives, Admiral Sullivan said, standing up. If that disrupts your trade routes, perhaps you should examine what you're trading. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates supported humanities actions, especially those from smaller, weaker species who had suffered from pirate attacks. Others, mainly from the major powers, demanded that Earth submit to council authority and reduce their military presence. Finally, Helen Park asked to speak one more time. The hall fell silent as she approached the podium. Honored delegates, we did not ask to become the galaxy's protectors. We would have been happy to remain peaceful traders and explorers. But when we saw suffering and no one else would act, we chose to act. That choice has consequences, and we accept them. She looked around the hall, meeting the eyes of delegates from dozens of different species. Some of you fear us because we are strong. Others hate us because we refuse to play by rules that benefit the powerful at the expense of the weak. We understand your concerns, but we will not apologize for saving lives. Helen's voice grew stronger. Today, this council can choose how to respond to humanity's actions. You can work with us to build a better galaxy, or you can oppose us. But understand this, we will continue to protect innocent life, regardless of what you decide. Some things are more important than politics. The vote was close, but in the end, a majority of the council agreed to accept the Terran Protection Doctrine. Humanity would be allowed to continue their peacekeeping operations, with some oversight and coordination with council forces. Not everyone was happy with the decision. The Al-3 Empire and several other major powers withdrew from active council participation, choosing to build up their own military forces instead. But many smaller species applied to join humanity's protection agreements. A year later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, the UHS Guardian, watching his fleet patrol the outer systems. The galaxy was still not perfect, but it was safer. Pirates thought twice before attacking civilian ships. Slavers found their operations disrupted at every turn. Children could travel through space without fear. Admiral called his communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim. We're receiving a distress call from the Kepler system. Pirate attack on a colony ship. Jake smiled. It was not a happy smile, but it was a satisfied one. Set course for Kepler. Best speed, yes sir? Should I contact the council? After we handle the pirates, some things can't wait for politics. As the Guardian and its escort ships jumped to hyperspace, Jake thought about the message that had started it all. One desperate call for help had revealed humanity's true nature to the galaxy. They were not conquerors or politicians. They were protectors, and they would continue to be protectors as long as innocent people needed them. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate the species that hides its strength not from fear, but from kindness. And never, ever, send a distress call where humans can hear it unless you want them to come running, ready to fight anyone who threatens the innocent. Earth had shown its true military power, and the galaxy would never be the same.